again, Nate Reinhardt in the red, Dustin Larson out of Extreme Couture in the blue. This fight is brought to you by JC Pro Design. Nice teep to the body there, landed by Larson.
Good cage control by Reinhardt.
Clips him on the chin is Reinhardt as well.
Beautiful kick.
In for the takedown is Reinhardt, in on that single leg. Dustin staying busy up top though, Caitlin.
That's where Larson's messing up a little bit. He's trying to land shots instead of grabbing the whizzer, where he could use that to stand up.
Nate trying to get to the back, it seems like. Larson able to get back up right up against the cage. Reinhardt applying pressure.
Nate's landing some mean shots right here against the cage.
Larson lands a stiff jab of his own. Both staying busy, a quick feeling out process for these two. And dropped by Larson there. A nice shot to the body landed by Larson, and an inside leg kick to follow. Oh, goes Nate! Larson lands a clean shot in the process.
And Nate goes straight for the takedown. Good recovery by him.
Staying busy on bottom is Larson.
Great composure from Reinhardt.
You got to wonder, 11 months away after a disappointing loss. Spent a lot of time working on things that he struggled with in that first fight.
Oh yeah, you got to be hungry after that.
Final minute of round number 1 of a possible 3. And a nice takedown landed once again by Reinhardt. Larson back on the bottom. And Caitlin, when you're down on the bottom like that for Larson, what is your what should he be doing as Reinhardt moves over to mount?
Here he has that arm trapped. He could do a bridge and roll, try to get out, escape, shrimp out. Whatever you do, you can't just lay flat on your back right here and start eating punches. But he is trying to control Nate, which is good so big shots don't land. But he just has to work his way up from here. This is not a good position for him.
That voice you hear is Chris Curtis. Just fought Kelvin Gastelum 2 weeks ago at UFC 287. Looking like Reinhardt will close out the round on top. And once again, we do have an unofficial scorecard. We're going to be getting those throughout the night from Jason Laporte. We're going to have that in just a little bit. Jason, I'm going to kick it off with you. Your thoughts in that first round?
That was actually a very competitive first round. I thought Nate came out. I thought he looked really well. He was landing some shots. Dusty came back, though. He had the teep kick that knocked Reinhardt down, and then he had that big overhand shot that dropped Reinhardt. I'm going to give a slight edge to Larson in that first round just because of that big overhand right. Although Reinhardt did recover well and ended up in the mount at the end of the round, I kind of felt like there wasn't enough damage being done there, so I'm going to slightly lean to Larson with having those 2 big knockdowns in that round.
Yeah, Caitlin, your thoughts on those 2 big knockdowns? I mean, those were emphatic moments in the round.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 knockdowns, the teep may have been a slip too, maybe just caught Reinhardt off guard. That's why I would probably give it to Reinhardt, because he did have most of the cage control and a couple takedowns, and he ended on top. So, I mean, it just depends on what you're going for, you know?
It was a tough one, and
it was a competitive round. I'll give you that.
I thought the way that Reinhardt recovered is going to look good in the judge's eyes, so I wouldn't be surprised if Reinhardt ends up getting the nod with that, because even though he got knocked down, he recovered very well.
Oh, and it looks like Larson is bleeding right now. He got cut.
Round number 2 of a possible 3.
Another big shot by Larson.
Larson's been very crisp on the feet. A little bit of blood dripping from the nose of Reinhardt.
Looks like he broke his nose. Reinhardt looks like his nose is broke.
Back in on that single leg. Or actually that double leg, I apologize. But Larson doing a good job staying upright. Under the knees now is Reinhardt.
And I'd like to see Larson, instead of throwing those strikes against the cage, really try to defend the takedowns and improve his position before he starts throwing those punches.
Nate staying busy as the aggressor here in the first minute of round number 2. The cardio was very impressive on both of them, honestly.
I think Larson's doing a phenomenal job for his debut.
Back in on that takedown. That's got to be takedown 4 or 5 now, I believe.
Both guys are bleeding pretty bad. We might get some blood on here, or blood on us here soon.
Yeah, we are definitely in the blood zone, and Nate is leaking from his nose. His nose is definitely broken.
Caitlin, were you ever surprised at the necessity of being able to stay on top in a fight like this? We see Larson, who's been taken down a couple of times already, and so you've got to think that that's probably something that he might want to work on when he goes back to his camp.
Oh yeah, he'll probably work on a lot of cage work. Hopefully his coaches will tell him to defend instead of throw little shots. But I mean, it's just exhausting having someone control you and take you down over and over again, and you having to fight back up each time.
Nate's got one hook in, starting to apply potentially a choke, punching in for a little bit of head position.
He's got both hook ins. He might be under the chin too.
Dustin seeming cool and composed in there. A wealth of experience early on in his debut, but in a war nonetheless, Jason.
What a great fight. What a great fight to start the night out with. Let's
real.
go.
It's scary how good these amateurs are getting in their first fights. I mean, look at how they look early on in their amateur careers.
Big shots from Reinhardt from the top.
Yeah, Nate does not look like an 0-1 amateur fighter at all. He looks really, really good in this fight. And Larson just looks so calm and composed, even though he's in such a, not good position.
Another punishing shot landed by Reinhardt. Lands a few more from the top.
Big shots from Reinhardt.
Final 5 seconds of round number 2. A dominant second round for Nate Reinhardt out of Wasatch Combat Sports. Dustin Larson still seemingly fresh. And landed a knockdown as well in that one, Jason.
He looked great in that round. Reinhardt looked phenomenal. I felt like he controlled that whole round. I'm going to give him a 10-8 round in that. He was close to finishing it right there at the end and just total domination.
Caitlin, your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I would give Reinhardt that round. He had control the whole time. He had the takedowns. But, I mean, Larson has some heart. He had some times where he could have given up or could have stopped, and he kept going. So I'm excited to see what happens this third round. Hopefully that doesn't get into his head too much.
Caitlin, from the body language you're seeing on our screen right now with Dustin Larson, how exhausted do you think he might be?
I mean, he's got to be pretty exhausted getting controlled like that and taken down over and over and having to try to work his way back up. But he has like a smile on his face. He doesn't look like he's too down. Hopefully Chris is kind of putting some motivation back into him. So hopefully we'll see him pick it up this third round.
Yeah, he looks phenomenal. I mean, Chris is pumping him up. Reinhardt looks like he just walked in the cage for round number 1. He looks ready to go. Broken nose and all.
For real.
You got to think Nate Reinhardt is hungry for that first win after a disappointing loss in his debut. Both fighters extremely impressive here in our first bout of the evening. Larson landed a knockdown in every single round so far. Third and final round here. Nate back in on that takedown. That has been his bread and butter in the first 6 minutes of this fight.
So what Larson needs to do right here is get his left leg back to the cage, grab a whizzer, try to build back up to his base. He can't just lay here, maybe build up to an elbow. But Reinhardt is doing exactly what he needs to. He has his hips in, heavy pressure, landing big shots.
It's got to be super tough to get up from under that, especially after 7 minutes so far of action.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're already exhausted, and then you're getting hit in the head.
Chris
there
just
we go.
threw in
We
the
got
towel.
finish.
Chris has seen enough. Chris Curtis just threw in the towel. Probably a good call.
That will do it. Nate Reinhardt gets it done in his second fight.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching Fierce Fighting Championship on YouTube. For more daily content, make sure to click that subscribe button as well as the bell so you don't miss any of our daily fights, podcast clips, highlights, as well as our full weekly podcast. If you want to tune into one of our live shows, go ahead and head over to fiercefightingchampionship.com.